Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shaunna Lee, the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another Simply Shaunna episode. Today, we are talking about writing books. And when I think back to the first time that I first had the thought that I might like to write a book, I recall myself as a very timid young teenager. I was 16. I was on a trip to California to visit my grandmother with my family. My grandmother was a single mom of 10 children who put herself through college. And when I tell you this woman was amazing, I tell no lies. While I was there this particular summer, she shared with me two very important things. One was a confession of a dream she once had, and two was her personal library. She had always wanted to travel the world and write stories like James A. Michener. And I actually tried to read one of his books, but they were so long, I found them a bit tedious. My grandmother was an avid reader, though, and she told me I could read any of the books from her shelves. I've spoken about this many times before, but this moment was so profound for me. It bears repeating. By learning about her desire to be an author and also seeing that longing in her eyes for this unrealized dream, I learned two things. One, I had the ability to want things that big too. I could also have the desire to write a book. I could dream bigger than perhaps what I thought was possible from my 16-year-old viewpoint. And also, the second thing was I did not want to have regrets like this at the end of my life that left me looking so sad. And I didn't want to feel as if I had missed an opportunity or missed a calling. So, the first book I chose to read from her bookshelf was A Love Story by Eric Segal. I think I'm saying his name right. It was short and enchanting. I devoured this book in 2 days, and it was the perfect book for me at the time, a lovesick teenager, so missing her new boyfriend, while I was forced on this horrible vacation with my family. So instead of moping and dwelling on my own sadness, which don't you worry, I did plenty of, I got lost in this love story and I was forever changed. Mostly, though, it left me asking myself, could I write a book one day? Do I want to be an author? And perhaps you can relate to the same desire. So then life happened, as it does, and I temporarily walked away from my own dream. I put that dream to write a book on a shelf, and I didn't come back to it for another couple decades. The thought resurfaced many times over the years, and that longing, it never quite went away, but I did what we all do. And I got lost in the day-to-day reality of raising babies and maneuvering my way in and out of 3 marriages. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, months turned into years, and I spent every one of those years wanting to do something but never actually doing it. So when I finally let this dream out of this box that I had been keeping it in, it felt exciting, and it also felt really fucking daunting. This idea of writing a whole book was so overwhelming, to say the least. I daydreamed about what it would be like to write books full time and make a living sharing my writing with the world. I dreamed of being a part of Oprah's book club. I thought, how amazing would it be to write from anywhere in the world? I pictured myself in an Airbnb on the coast of Maine, writing my story in a month's time. The daydreams were strong, my friends. But when I finally decided that I could maybe actually write a book, well, that's when the imposter syndrome kicked in. What do I know about writing a book? I'm raising children and working full time. I certainly don't have time to write a book. Who would even want to read anything that I wrote? I'm not smart enough to write an intelligent book. What would I even write about? How in the hell do I get published? Can I make any money at it? So, if you have the same dream burning inside of you and you have the same imposter syndrome thoughts swirling around in your mind, I have 4 tips for you. 1, you should absolutely write that book that you're being called to write. You are not given dreams and desires that are not meant for you. Just because you want to is reason enough. The desire to write a book means you have a story that needs to be told. And it does not matter if 4 other people have written a similar book. Your audience needs to hear it the way you are going to tell it. Think about how many books you've read on the same topic or even within the same genre. It doesn't matter that someone else has already done it. You have not told your story in your voice yet. Another thing to mention here is that you can simply write a book without any expectations for what it becomes. I actually wrote my first children's book for my son. It was, or it is, a super cute story called Luke the Litterbug, and it's all about a little boy who litters so much that he turns into a beetle. Now, I never actually published this book, but I told it to my son as his bedtime story for years. So sometimes just writing the story for you or someone you love is enough. I'll also say writing takes practice. Your first book will be crappy. Nothing may come of it other than the fact that you will be able to say, I wrote a book. And that confidence that comes from that will skyrocket you to the next and another and another. So, my second tip for you is learn what you don't know. You, my friend, can do hard things. Learning what your process is going to be will be a journey, and you're going to stumble. You will make mistakes, but just like Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. So don't have this expectation of perfection along the way or out of the gates. Just be willing to learn what you don't know yet. You don't have to know all the things to accomplish something. You just need to commit to reading books, to finding the right teachers, to using your resources, and learning whatever it is that you don't yet know. Now, it doesn't matter if you don't know how to get published, you don't know how to have your book edited, or even where to start. You have to write a book before you can get it published. And you can learn from people who know what you don't yet know. You can learn new technology, you can learn to use new tools, and you can do whatever the hell you set your mind to. But first, you have to write. So, step 3, baby steps will get you there. Setting a lofty goal like writing a whole book is likely going to take you a long time. So maybe today Stephen King is knocking out these new stories in 6 months, but I guarantee you his first one was not that fast. Your first book will take you longer. Your learning curve will take some time. Creating a new process or forming a new habit just takes time. My first real book, I say real book in quotations, after my children's book was a novel called Divine Tragedy. It took me a year and a half to write it because what I was doing at the time was I was waiting for big pockets of time before I sat down to write. I was waiting for creative inspiration to hit before I would actually write anything. My divorce book, though, was done in 5 months. So here's what I can tell you from those 3 very different experiences. Being able to break it out into smaller, more manageable steps is crucial. For me, setting word goals that are realistic was most important. So, knowing how many words that you want to write each day or each week will be a great way for you to keep yourself on task. Now, I easily tried to set a writing goal of 10,000 words each week at one point because I was so ambitious and wanted to finish this story so quickly. And let me let you in on a little secret. That's not super realistic with two small children at home. But finding 15 minutes to write every other day, that's doable. So, in 15-minute increments, in stolen moments, one day at a time, those baby steps along the way will get you there. So, editing uses the right, more logical side of your brain. And the writing process is using the left side, the more creative part of your brain. You want to be sure that you're not trying to do both at one time. It will just slow you down. You want to fully step into the creative zone and just write. And then in another phase, you will sit down and be more analytical and logical. And that's when you will edit in that separate stage. This is the best advice because it will get words on paper and it will help you get that first crappy manuscript draft done. And then you get to edit it. That's when the magic happens. That's when you can turn it into a work that you are proud of. And do not worry, every first draft is shitty. Your only goal during the writing phase is simply to get it done. So, when it comes to taking these 4 concepts and putting them into action, we sometimes need some accountability or someone to hold our hand and show us the way. I truly believe that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I do not know where I heard this first, but it holds true for me time and time again. So if you are looking for that sort of guidance, I want to welcome you into my new program. It's called Published, and this is not your average book club. This program is so special. It is 2 things. It's 1 part book club and 1 part learning how to write your own book. You are going to get to watch my process and learn from me, and I will teach you what you need to know to create your own manuscript. You also get to read my next book as I write it. I am finally ready to write my next book. And this one is going to be so fun and hugely entertaining. This is going to be all about dating later in life. So, dating midlife after life has kicked you around a little bit is interesting to say the least. So, you might be ready to dip your toes back into this arena to find love, or maybe, listen, you're just looking for a warm body. No judgment, but what these stories will bring you is lots of entertainment. So it's going to be anecdotes and stories about dates gone bad and dates that ended up going really well. There will be lots of humor and it's going to be lots of fun. So you get to read this as I write it. This program is going to be built in a 6-month container. The first 2 months are going to be weekly lessons where I'm going to teach you as I write. You will learn how to knock through imposter syndrome. I will teach you what you need to know about the different publishing options at the end of your writing process. I will teach you how to set aside time for writing, how to make time when I guarantee you think you do not have the time to write a book. I assure you, you do. So for 8 weeks, we will have weekly live lessons followed by monthly live Q&A sessions. By the end of 6 months, you should have your book written. And during those 4 months of monthly sessions, where are you getting stuck? What do you need help with? During this time, you will also get to read my book as I'm writing it. Each of you will become my accountability partners. So for me, this is the key to getting any piece of work done. I am going to hold you accountable to write your story, and you will get to do the same for me. So just think, by the end of this year, you could have your first book done. So you will learn my process and what you need to know about creating your own process. So this is a book club in that you get to read mine as I write it. You'll also get a signed copy of my book at the end, but you'll also get to read each other's books. So this is one of the most exciting parts of this program, and that is that it's going to be a community of new authors. You will not be the only one who wants to write a book and doesn't quite yet know how. You will be in a group of writers just like yourself starting out. And here's one of the things I didn't know the first time I set out to write a book. When you're in this editing phase and you're ready to start getting, one step closer to publishing your book, you actually need readers. Now, clearly, I knew you needed readers for a published book, but I didn't realize how important beta readers are to this entire process. So, in those early stages, you actually need someone to just read it and say, yep, that makes sense, or I like the direction you're going, or have you thought about this? And this community that we're building within this program gives you those beta readers built in. The other aspect of the whole you need people to read your book is when you publish your book, reviews are crucial to getting to that bestseller status. When you have a newly published book, getting folks to read it is the first challenge, but getting them to review it is the second and much more difficult challenge. So we are all committing to each other within the walls of this program that we will read each other's books, we will leave reviews, and we will help each other get to bestseller status. So by participating in this program, you will get to read each other's stories and leave reviews for them. But I am committing to each of you that I will do the same. I will read your book, I will leave a review, which means you have to write your story first. I will teach you how to get there. I will show you how I do it. It's called Published, and this is not your average book club. I'm so excited to welcome you all into this program. It's going to be super fun. And for those of you who said at the beginning of 2022 that your resolution was to write a book this year, this is your sign, and the time is now. So join us. We're going to write books. So feel free to find the link in the show notes or just pop on over to shaunalee.com/published and let's get started. Okay, listen. Are you struggling to find what your true purpose really is? You should try journaling. At the very least, it will get you to a better feeling place than where you are right now. I've created a set of journal prompts to get you on your way to discovering who you truly are and where you want to go from here. My free download is called Journal Yourself to Joy, and it's available at shaunalee.com under Free Stuff. These are my tried and true journal prompts that will raise your energy, increase your positivity, and brighten your day. Download yours today.